I think just to add to all of that, like with the UK, me and my housemate were talking about it yesterday. We are just like, sometimes the racism in the UK hurts more because it's like someone hurting you, but in such a sly way that you can't even report it. Like
Yeah.
it's microaggressions. It's someone saying to you, "Oh, you can afford that. Oh, you live here. Oh, you went to uni here. Oh, you're studying engineering, but
Mm.
you lived in Peckham. Oh,
Mm.
okay." Like, just things like that. Like it's someone touching your hair or saying that your hair is unprofessional or saying that the way that a male has shaped his hair is unprofessional and he's excluded from school. You get what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's they're not obvious with it. They're not blatant with it. It's looking at Grenfell and no one being charged for it, and people saying it's not a racism matter. Oh, there were illegal immigrants living in the tower. It's looking at the Windrush scandal and no one being held accountable for it, and people brushing it under the thing. Oh, it was just a few people in the Conservative Party brushing it under the carpet. So it's things like that. Like no one's, and it's so annoying because so many people in the UK actually haven't seen a black person in real life. They're getting preconceived notions of black people from media.
Yeah.
They're reading Daily Mail, they're reading The Sun, they're seeing these black people painted as thugs. I saw an article and it was showing how, if you look at the stats in the article, it shows that white people are the highest users of like cocaine and those kind of drugs, but the picture used for the article was a bunch of black boys. And it's just like you could see that black people were actually the lowest number. And it's just like you read the article title, you see the picture, and you don't even need to read the article to already see that it's painting a narrative. And if someone didn't even read the article, they've already made that link between black people and cocaine. When if you read the stats in it, it's nothing. It's just the British media.
Was it in the Independent? Was it the Independent, Jerry?
I think it was
Guardian.
the Guardian.
The
That was
Guardian.
Yeah.
The Independent. Sorry, guys.
So it's just that kind of like level of, oh, they see your name and don't give you an interview. So we were talking about diversity quotas and what the government is doing to get our foot in the door. And we're grateful for diversity quotas because some of us won't be as high up as we are if it wasn't for that. I mean, but there's more they can do, I won't lie, but they've done something. But then we were just talking about how diversity quotas don't change how white people see you. Ooh. Because they'll see you in a managerial position and be like, oh, it's because that company just needed more black managers. But we were just saying it either way. I'd rather be a black manager who a white person looks down on than being in the bottom ranks that a white person looks down on. At least here I've got there is room for me to progress and get into positions where my voice can be heard. So like I think what we were just saying is we need to infiltrate communities. Like we need to be living in these rich areas. People need to see our faces more. People need to see us thriving, and not just see us as, I don't know, thugs or people that live in council estates, whatever. And we were talking about how the government's been knocking down a lot of council estates, and like black people or poorer people, which are usually black, have been moving out of London to like cheaper areas. And we've seen this with like Manchester 10 years ago was not as multicultural as it is now, but because of what's happened, it's so weird that like now we see people being more accepting of blackness and black culture in these cities that were don't get me wrong, they're still very much racist. Like you would sit on the bus and someone won't sit next to you because you're black, but they're seeing our faces more and they're seeing our culture more, and we are infiltrating these areas, and people are seeing that actually we're not thugs, we're not what the media shows. We are thriving, and we are what we are. And obviously there are always bad members of every community, but you can't judge us on what the kind of narrative that the media wants to push. And I think it's is what I'd say to, like, I don't know, white people who maybe don't have black friends or haven't encountered black people and their culture, is to not just like make the media push this certain narrative of us, and actually learn, as you guys said, educate yourselves, learn about us and our culture and everything about us, and like try and make friends with people who are black, who are different from you, because you learn so much from people who are not like you. Likewise, black people as well. And I think one thing, interesting thing that I was reading today was Acts 17. Acts 17, I think 24. So 24, if I read it, it says, the God who made the world and everything in it. Oh, wait. Actually, let me go down further down. Sorry, guys. Okay, yeah, let me go down to verse 26. So it says, from one man he made all the nations, that they should inhabit the whole earth, and he marked out their appointed times in history and the boundaries of their lands. God did this so that they would seek him and perhaps reach out for him and find him, though he is not far from any one of us, that we live and move and have our being in him. And yeah, so I found this so interesting, because obviously before the kind of Tower of Babel time, all of us were, I guess, one nation, one language, one people. And then obviously that unity though was not rooted in God. It was unity rooted in us and our own desires, and that's what caused God to separate us. But it says that he did this intentionally. He marked out the boundaries of our land. He gave us nations. And one thing I just want to dispel is the word race and like racial divide is a false notion. God did not create race, he created ethnicity. If you look at that word nations, it talks about ethnos, which is ethnicity. God created Nigerians and Ghanaians and people bounded by languages and tribes and ethnicity. He did not create race. Race is something that has come up to divide us. You get what I mean? And the Bible talks about nations, and God did this, and it literally says that he bound the lands that we live in, and he did this intentionally. And why he did this, so that we can seek him, and in seeking him we can be united. And we see this in Acts 2, where when the Holy Spirit came down and filled the people, what did they do? They spoke in languages of other nations. People from other nations who were there could recognize them, and there was a unity. Afterwards, these people were selling their possessions so that those who were poorer and less off than them could be equal with them. So we see that this unity that we are all fighting for cannot be found anywhere else than really in Jesus. And it says that God divided us so that we can see that we can only be united through him. The end. So I think it's so very important that when we're talking about these divides in terms of ethnicity, that we are talking about Jesus first. Because if we're not pursuing unity and equality in Jesus, then there's no point of talking about it. We're shouting about our blackness, blackity black, but then God's not shouting about our blackness. I know a lot of churches, especially like these kind of white evangelical kind of reformed churches, are talking about how God is colorblind. God does not see race. Yeah, you're right. God does not see race. He sees the nations that he creates. He sees ethnicity. And you know what? Even if God was colorblind, he's not blind to injustice. God does not look at injustice and go, yeah,
it's good.
Right. You know what I mean? So even if he doesn't see color, he sees injustice. And so you should be fighting against injustice of that divides people because of their color. If God is so colorblind, then why are you just sitting on the sidelines and seeing people being, ostracized because of their color? Like people's arguments towards not addressing racism makes no sense. It makes no sense. And you know what? There was another Bible verse, I think is in Deuteronomy. God talks about how he doesn't show partiality, and obviously people use this Bible verse. But when you read on in that Bible verse, let me even find it, because I think it was really well said. Deuteronomy, I think 10. But I was just reading it, I was just like, whoa. Like I just don't understand where people get these like notions and like.
Deuteronomy 10, 17 to 19.
Yeah, 10, 17. Yeah. So if you look at verse 18, it says that, no, I'll start from 17. So it says, for the Lord your God is the God of gods and the Lord of lords, the great God, mighty and awesome, who shows no partiality and accepts no bribes. People end there. But if we read the next verse, it says, he defends the cause of the fatherless and the widow and loves the foreigner residing among you, giving them food and clothing. Okay, God shows no partiality, but we can see here that he defends those who are who people aren't defending. He talks of the fatherless and the widow. And what does he also talk about? The foreigner, which also, are we not people living in a foreign land? The UK is in our land. We are foreigners. And it says that the Lord defends us. So when people are talking about, God shows no impartiality, yeah, he doesn't. But he also defends the foreigner, and he defends the widow and the fatherless. God is defending those who are looked at as outcasts from the beginning of time. So we need to kind of stop. Anyways, I was just being very frustrated about a lot of these, especially Christian pastors, white pastors, talking about, guys, we need to address, the wickedness of man and not cause divide between us. Yes, we shouldn't cause divide, but me saying Black Lives Matter and me addressing racial issues isn't me trying to cause divide. It's me trying to cause unity. Is me trying to call for equality, is me trying to call out injustice so that there can be some form of reconciliation. So I think we need to just kind of, dispel these myths of race. Like it's so crazy because they call us black and white. White people aren't white, black people aren't black. I'm brown, my skin color is brown. If you were going to draw me with a color pencil, you wouldn't use black to draw me. You'd use a brown color pencil to color me in. White people aren't white. Hold a piece of paper next to a white person. They are not white. That they're a mixture of different hues, like pinky, yellowy, so, but why choose these terms? Black and white are polar opposites of each other. Even if you look at light, white light is, if you know about the light, white is yellow, I think pink and cyan light put together. When you put all those colors together, it gives you white light. And then black is when all of light is absorbed. What you can see is black and white can't exist in the same place or room. You either have white light or you have blackness. You can't mix the two. They are polar opposites. So why would they choose to call us black and call themselves white? They're trying to cause a divide, put us at one side of the spectrum and them at the other side, and show that there is no reconciliation. But really, look at us. I'm brown. Do you know why I'm brown? Because of melanin. I'm brown because my parents are from Ghana, which is near the equator. And so we need more melanin to stop us from getting skin cancer. Some people are white because they originate from, the north, where there is less sunshine. And so the type of melanin in their skin provides them with more vitamin D so that they don't get vitamin D deficient. So our ethnicities and the way our skin has evolved, we know about natural selection. If certain people live in a certain area and, the genes are favorable, then people in that area start to pass that gene on in generations. That's why people's colors have changed. But we all know we originate from Adam and Eve. So it's just, I just don't understand why people can, first of all, believe that white people are more superior than black people, and try and use science to back that up. There is no such thing. And anything that's scientifical and outside of what God has said about his people is ultimately false. I don't care how much evidence you have for it. If it's not what God has said over the lives of people, then ultimately it's false. So your evidence just must be, I don't know what your evidence is, but it's false. Something's wrong there. But yeah, I don't know. This was kind of a rant, sorry. But I just wanted to dispel myths. Like, race is not a thing. God did not make race. He made ethnicities. He made cultures that, ultimately when he unifies us all, we'll be singing to him one song, different tongues. And he just, it shows the kind of the beauty of the gospel, how God can reconcile many nations back onto himself, and not just, the Jews and the Israelites, but the Gentiles, who include all other nations. So yeah, that's that's me.
Anybody want to add anything else?